So hello and welcome to today's D-Tools i3 Partner Series webinar for the month of May entitled Q1 Market Update, In Like a Lion or a Lamb. My name is Jason Knott. I am the Data Solutions Architect and Evangelist at D-Tools, and I'm excited to be hosting today's event. Alongside me is Barry McCorkle, Director of Business Development at D-Tools. Hey, Barry.
Hello.
So the goal of today's webinar is to look at the latest aggregated data from the 2,200 plus users now of D-Tools Cloud and give you a sense of what's happening in the market, at least in terms of the D-Tools user base. So I have to say, looking at this slide that I put together, that lion looks kind of hungry. So I don't know if he's ready to devour that cute. That was the cutest little lamb photo that I found on the internet. I just don't want him to become a lamb chop or a lamb cutlet or a lamb shoulder. But based upon the hungriness of that lion, I think is a good analogy of where the market might be heading. So we'll give a sense and go through the data with everybody. This is the fifth in our series of monthly webinars. Thank you for setting aside the time to join us. It's going to go for 30 minutes. That's our time frame. If not less, we get you some time back. All right, there we go. So real quick, housekeeping slide. Again, this is the second time we're using the Teams platform. So hopefully you're hearing me okay. If for some reason the audio is not streaming, logging off, logging back on might solve it. You'll see on the top of the interface, there's the second to the left icon is the Q&A section. So we're going to be looking at that. Please, if you have questions, go ahead and type those in. We're going to save time at the end for answering the questions, and hopefully we'll be able to answer your questions. If we don't know the answer, we'll be honest and say we don't know the answer. But please use that Q&A interface. So before we jump into the data, I want to throw it over to Barry, and Barry's going to give us a quick update on the state of the i3 program and the D-Tools software. So Barry, take it away.
Yeah, so continue to grow very fast on the partner side. The slide shows here 400 plus company brand partners, which is over 1,300 brands we represent at this point in time, which is great news for the industry because that means we've got good data for you guys for this webinar and future ones. And we're trying to make this as good as possible for you. Also, personally, with your own company via our Insights Plus dashboard. Our new dashboard launched a little over a month ago, and we've had very good traction from people using it and some great response of what's there. If you haven't checked it out and want to, let me know. Happy to give you a personal tour. We've actually got a video on that as well. We are now offering the unique pricing aspect of D-Tools Cloud in 5 countries here by Q2. Those are, US, Canada, UK, and then soon to be New Zealand, Australia are the ones that are launching. Also, as a reminder, if you don't currently have an API pricing integration with us, we're always willing to step up the game for our affiliation with you and get that real-time pricing going. It makes it kind of nice for the dealers that are using the software. And then always reach out. If you want to do more co-marketing opportunities with us or other marketing initiatives, just let me know. There's always stuff that we can do. And then the next piece is going to be, a thank you. You guys are part of what drives this for the people that are using it. We've been the primary software solution provider for these guys, but we continue to be the number one that's out there and expanding into new verticals and markets, and been in business now for 26 years. And third bullet, there's over 7,000 unique, companies, users in 90 plus countries. It's about 8,000 now and about 100. Our SI software is still our flagship product, but cloud is growing extremely fast. And this is what I want to say. A, thank you, and B, also let you have a very powerful tool at your hand, which is we've added 1,200 new integration companies in the last 5 months. And that's specifically from our partners being able to offer it. So if you don't know, you are able to gift a license of our D-Tools Cloud Solo plan to any of your dealers that you sell directly to. It's worth $1,200 per instance, and the idea behind this is to drive up, the analytics that we get that are available for these webinars and also for you personally, and also to secure the business with those customers that you do business with. So if you don't currently have that offering or haven't sent any communication out about it, let me know and I can get you the tools that you need in order to do so.
Awesome. Thank you, Barry. All right, let's jump right into it. So here's what we're going to go over today. Looking at it just real quickly. Again, this data is coming from D-Tools cloud users only, which Barry mentioned we're over 2,200 now. The data is going to be presented as averages. So I know we've added, as he mentioned, over 1,000 companies in the last several months, but these are averages. So it's not anything where we're comparing apples to oranges. These are apples, straight averages based upon the dealers that are in the system. So we're going to be looking at the number of proposals and contracts. Going to be talking about average proposal contract values, what kind of value engineering we saw in Q1, and what the closing rates were. We're going to talk about the product versus labor breakdown in projects. And then lastly, we're going to talk about some of the most common product categories. So that's the agenda. Before we go forth, I do have to do this, and I know anybody who've been on a previous webinar has already kind of sat through this slide, but I'll make it quick. I just want to clarify what we are talking about when we talk about contracts versus projects. So D-Tools tracks the contracts, the proposals and the signed contracts that dealers are getting from their customers. We see, and it is interesting to look at and see that there is quite I will say it's a minority for sure, but I would guess between 10 and 20% of the dealers, projects, it seems like there are multiple contracts per project. So why does that happen? It could be as simple as the pre-wire was with a builder and the rest of it was with the homeowner who was buying the home. That's the same project, but in D-Tools, that is two separate contracts, and we are only looking at the contracts. There are some integrators also that we see that are doing individual contracts by room, by system, and by phase. So those, again, it could be 5 different contracts for a single project. But when I'm showing you the numbers, especially talking about the number of contracts and the number of or the values of those, I'm talking about individual contracts. In many cases, those are combined onto a single project. So I just want to, let everybody know that that's exactly what we're tracking there. Okay, let's jump into the first one here. So this is, I put in for perspective, I wanted to make sure I had 2022 data in here also, because there was some interesting developments when you looked at 2023, and I think we all kind of forgot how rough the first part of the year was last year. And when we get to the contract values, you're going to see that. But this is proposals. So if you look at the proposals, and I'm showing these. Sometimes you're going to see bar charts that kind of maybe a little bit of an eyesore. Sometimes you're going to see tables like this. I did it back and forth, so we'll see which ones resonate with you. But looking at the columns, 2022, 2023, 2024, you can see the average number of proposals per integrator per month in Q1, and then the quarterly total, and then just specifically there's the 2024 number. So for the quarter in 2024, first 3 months, the integrator did an average of 42 proposals that were presented, or 14 a month. So you can see in that Q1 total, I rounded up because there's no such thing as a 0.7 or a 0.1 of a proposal. So I rounded up to really kind of show you that trend of what's happening from 2022, 2023, and 2024. Went from 37 to 39 to 42 proposals per integrator in Q1. So what does this all mean? That's actually a 8.5% increase in 2024 versus 2023 in terms of proposals that they generated, and up 13% from 2022. So in a lot of these slides, Barry and I have conclusions. We don't know why a lot of these things happen. We can only speculate as to what's going on. But what this tells us is demand is steady, that there's still people who are looking for professional installation. The integrators are out there serving the market. You might speculate, oh, gee, they're doing more proposals, but maybe they're targeting smaller projects. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, because that is not the case. And quite frankly, it could be a signal that dealers are just getting more efficient at producing their proposals. And hopefully that's one way that D-Tools is helping them be able to generate those proposals quickly and more efficiently. By the way, just so everybody knows, let's just say it's a particular Mrs. Johnson's house, and Mrs. Johnson rejects the proposal, and the dealer goes back and redoes it. That doesn't count as two proposals. Unless they start from scratch for some unknown reason, then those revisions of the proposal are counted here. So does not count revisions that might take place on proposals, just so everybody knows. Okay. Signed contracts. So now, again, looking at 2022, 2023, 2024, same kind of table format. You can see the average number of signed contracts, and that's in your Insights Plus database or dashboard. That would be your sold number there when you're looking at that number that's being sold, signed business by the dealer. For the first quarter, it was 22 signed contracts on average, up 1. So in essence, flat. We're talking a flat market in terms of the number of contracts that they signed for Q1. From 20 in 2022, 21 in 2023, and 22 in 2024. A lot of 20s in that conversation there. We saw there were more proposals, didn't necessarily translate to more projects. Why? I know I'm hearing anecdotally from a lot of integrators that there are projects on hold. A lot of customers are pushing back some projects. Again, speculation on our part. We don't ask why that's happening. But that'll give you a sense of what's going on from the actual signed contracts. There's 2024 circled so you can see it. Okay, this is the same data that was in the last chart. I just wanted to show it as a bar graph, and the reason was I wanted to just kind of visually let you see how much stronger March is generally, every year, even for the last 3 years, how much stronger March is. So as we come out of winter, we get into spring, you can, kind of get a glimpse there visually to see how there's an increase in the number of signed contracts. And again, we haven't done this, for all across the entire board, but we've looked at some particular categories, and there is about a 30 to 40 day gap that takes place from the time that proposal's to the customer and the time it gets signed. What's going on? That's the time maybe value engineering is taking place, or the customer is dealing with competitive information from other dealers. But that's just kind of give you a sense of the time from that proposal shared to the time that it's being signed. We'll have that data in more accurately and fully, I should say, later on. All right. So now kind of combining the proposal number and the contract number, just to give you a look at, again, looking at that green bar in this, the green is 2024, 42 proposals, they signed 21.7, or in essence 22. That's a 52% close rate. So that's actually slightly down from what we saw the close rate was in 2023 and 2022. So what does that tell us? Again, we don't know exactly why, but it tells us that competition is certainly fierce out there, and dealers are not closing as high a percentage of their deals. All right, so if it's flat, if everything seems to be kind of relatively flat there in terms of number of contracts, where's the growth coming from for the market? Well, the growth is coming from the size of projects. So this, again, now I'm going back to proposals. This is not signed contracts. We're going to show that next. This is proposals. You can see, looking into that far right column, 2024, the size of proposals, the average Q1 proposal, $36,413. That's up 14% from 2023 and up 27% from 2022. So why is that happening? Again, here's what we hear anecdotally. A lot of that has to do with just the rising costs. An integrator, there's inflation that's happened to affect the price of products. Obviously, labor has gotten very tight, so they're having to pay their technicians and their staff more, and that information is being those increases are being passed on to the customer in terms of the proposal. It could also represent that dealers have added more product categories. So, lighting fixtures is a perfect example of a category that wasn't necessarily hot several years ago. Now more integrators are adding that in. Again, I don't have a definitive answer as to if there were more categories of equipment in those proposals in 2024. It's just a theory as to why that might be higher. And it also could be that dealers realize labor's tight, everything's tight. Guess what? I'm only going to target larger projects. I'm going to really focus on, not necessarily trying to compete at any way, shape, or form with what's out there at the DIY level. So these, again, are the proposals. All right, these are the contracts. So I put this one in bar format again, but you can look at the top one there, the Q average. 18,381 was the average signed contract in Q1, up significantly, 24% from 2023 and up 8% from 2022. And the one thing I'd like you to look at when you look at this chart is look at the weakness, the orange bars. The orange bars represent Q1 of 2023, and we can really see how tough it was in Q1 of 2023 in terms of dealers being value engineered down or whatever the case may be, but the project sizes were significantly lower in Q1 2023 than even in 2022, and then certainly in 2024. So again, just a kind of that visual glance, you can see how rough it was. Now think about Q1 last year, inflation was out of control. People were thinking that there was this major recession was coming, et cetera, et cetera. So there was a lot of reticence out there amongst integrators. And again, that's a really solid, strong number to see that 18,381, that 24% growth. That tells me, again, conclusion here, nothing that we have, the details doesn't tell you why. I wish it did. It doesn't. But they're targeting those larger projects. So, and again, going back to those same reasons, the part of that increase, I'm sure, is due to the increase in product prices and increase in cost of labor. All right, so now here's those two combined. I've got the proposal number on the top bar, the average proposal, and then the average contract. So 36,000 was the proposal, as I showed a couple slides ago. 18,381 was the final contract. Here's the good news. That was 50.5% of the proposal value was retained, which was up from Q1 of last year, where it was only 46%. So again, I showed that those orange bars in that last chart. That was a really rough time frame, and it tells us, again, making a conclusion here, that there's certainly less value engineering taking place. And also, we like to think that they're using D-Tools to create much more targeted and accurate and efficient proposals for their customers. So interesting, positive number there. All right, let's move on. One of the other pieces of data that we look at was the blend of product versus labor in terms of what's in the proposal and what's in the contract. So last year, for the full year, it came out as a 77%. I don't have Q1, but just last year for the full year, it was 77% product, 23% labor. So it's still right in that same line. You can see the proposals, 22% labor, 78% product. The good news is that when it gets to the contract, any of the value engineering that's taking place, less of it is happening on the labor side, and the dealers are valuing their labor more. I know when you talk to consultants out there in the industry, they really, really push for an integrator to get to 30% labor in terms of, and one consultant I talked to just the other day told me that he's seen integrators as high as 44%. And those aren't security guys. Those are custom residential integrators in big metro areas with as high as 44% of their revenue coming from labor. So although the change is very slight, here, it does show a positive trend of increased labor in terms of dealers valuing their labor. All right, product categories. So we are in the midst, just so you know, of doing some very thorough research, I'll call it, on the categories, and we're going to have, we're targeting by CEDIA. We're going to have some very, very detailed information for all the Insights Plus participants to be able to see what's going on category by category, where the pieces of the pie might be migrating from one product category to another, what's happening on the trends there. Right now, this is really only, a lot of the data that I can show you, which is what is the most commonly installed products out there. I know, lighting fixtures and those sorts of products are getting a lot of press and buzz, but these are still the bread and butters. TVs, wire and cable, surveillance cameras, home networks, and architectural loudspeakers. What's changed from Q1 2023? Surveillance cameras actually flipped over home networks, and actually surveillance cameras became very, very close to wire and cable. So there's real strong momentum in the surveillance camera category right now that we are seeing within Integrators and D-Tools Cloud. So something to keep your eye on. Again, this is common. They're commonly installed. In other words, what percentage of the proposals or what percentage of the contracts had these products in them. This is not a reflection of SKU numbers, volume. So, think about a lighting control mechanism or something like that. That might have tons of faceplates and switch boxes and all those sorts of things. So that is not volume of product. This is, again, commonality. So, all right. So I went through that really quick, and I'm glad I did. I hope I'm giving you some time back. Here's the takeaways. What do we see in terms of Q1? Proposal volume up slightly. Contract volume basically flat. Proposal values up double digit, and the real strength signed contract values up 27%. Remarkable. Closing rates, again, down slightly. 52% closing rates. On a positive note, less value engineering appears to be taking place because there was higher retention of what was in the proposal in the final contract. And the categories themselves remain relatively unchanged, although we're definitely seeing signs of strength in the surveillance camera category in terms of percentage. So, okay. So what is the ultimate conclusion? The market is stable. We're not seeing extreme drop-offs. We are also coming out of a comparative situation where Q1 2023 was pretty rough. So I'm very excited and very curious to see what Q2 compares like, because last year we saw definitely changes, strength in the market starting to develop in the late spring, and that went all the way through the fall of 2023. So it'll be interesting to see how it compares as we go through the year, and we do this regularly. So lastly, before we get to any questions, I just want to throw out reminder that we do these webinars every month, and we also do special reports that are up on the website and get downloaded for free. The agenda and slate of the upcoming webinars and the upcoming special reports are going to be in your i3 quarterly newsletter that you get. But if you have any questions or you want to know what's coming up, reach out to Barry or myself, and we'll be happy to help you. So, all right. With that, we left a few minutes here for questions, and I don't know if any came in, Barry.
No questions yet. And while we're waiting for questions, you can use the Q&A button or raise your hand, and I can turn your mic on. And then I'm also going to plug, if you haven't seen it yet, we also just released the 2023 year-end review report yesterday. I'm going to drop that the link for that in the chat here. So if you need to view that or download it, you can do that as well.
Thank you very much for being part of the i3 program. We really appreciate it. With that, thanks everybody, and have a great day and a great afternoon. Thanks, Barry.
Yep. See you guys next time.